Dear Chair, respected Elder Wilson and brethren, yes, I'm Sharon Hall. I'm a layperson from the South Australian Conference. The Church Manual on page 30 states that the General Conference in session, that's us, is recognised as the voice of the Church, and we understand that the General Conference Executive Committee has prepared this agenda on behalf of the delegates for this session. However, there are pressing global issues that have hindered our mission and unity as a church, as a world church, that are not on the agenda that's been presented. Therefore, I move to adopt the agenda of the General Conference session with the following amendments and conditions. Postpone the consideration of the Constitution and Bylaws agenda, the Church Manual agenda and the General Agenda items 124 to 128 until July 11. Limit the cumulative time for receiving reports, excluding the auditor's opinion and certification, to 1 hour per day from July 4 to July 11, 2025. Allocate the first 30 minutes of each business session starting July 4, 2025 to debate and adopt a daily agenda, which may be interrupted only for the election of officers proposed by the nominating committees. If the daily agenda is completed before 5 p.m, delegates may vote to add additional items to that day's agenda. The direct session support committees to select and implement a rank polling software, for example Slido, Poll Everywhere or Mentimeter, for ranking daily agenda item requests to help facilitate the adoption of the daily agenda with the goal of full operation by July 6. Do not allow the General Conference Corporation members meeting to interrupt the work of the General Conference session. The reason I make this motion is so that important issues such as how our relationships with non-Adventist entities such as the UN are managed, the validity of any official statement not voted by a General Conference session, and our participation in ecumenical councils, so these could be addressed.
All right. Yes, Mr. Chair, with all due respect and appreciation for the proposed agenda and those who put it together, I think that most of us would agree that there are a number of critical issues facing our global church family today which are not on the agenda. These issues affect us as members as well as our unity as a body and our mission. The concern that I and many other members have is that the Holy Spirit be given room to speak through the delegates of this General Conference session in guiding our topics of discussion. We delegates, as the highest authoritative body in the church, have some significant items we would like to add to the agenda. Thus, I move to adopt the proposed agendas with the following amendments and conditions. Number 1, let us set aside at least 3 full days of business sessions to address critical issues determined by the delegates. Number 2, let us allocate some time in the beginning of each of these sessions for delegate to seek God's guidance and to debate and adopt a daily agenda. If the daily agenda is completed before the end of the session, delegates may vote to add additional items. Number 3, let the session support committees choose and implement an app such as Slido, Poll Everywhere, or Mentimeter for ranking daily agenda item requests to help facilitate the adoption of the daily agenda. And number 4, let us limit the cumulative time for receiving reports and other possible interruptions during those 3 or more days. I do not claim to know all of the significant issues we are currently facing as a worldwide church, but I trust that we as a body of delegates will be able to come to those conclusions through prayer, discussion, and voting. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move to add to the agenda a review and discussion of the 2015 General Conference AdCom statement encouraging immunization. Specifically, the claim that Adventist health message is grounded in peer-reviewed scientific literature, in addition to the Bible and the writing of Ellen White. This assertion merits careful examination as it appears in conflict with the fundamental beliefs. Belief 22 affirms that the Adventist health message is a matter of doctrine. While the introduction of our fundamental beliefs clearly states, Seventh-day Adventists accept the Bible as their only creed, a position that is further affirmed in belief number 1, and then in belief 18, we affirm as the spirit of prophecy as a reference point for our beliefs. In light of all these principles, I respectfully urge that this issue be given a thoughtful and prayerful consideration. Otherwise, we are on our path to repeat history, and in particular, I'm thinking about the Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church, who turned the tradition of people into holy tradition. Nowadays, our society is turning to scientism as our human tradition. Let's keep the Bible and the spirit of prophecy as a foundation of doctrine.
The challenge that we have faced with some of the items that have come up is that there has been a tremendous amount of misinformation circulated. Coming out of COVID-19, there were a lot of concerns and difficulties that people faced. And we sympathize with people. Some people lost jobs, some people lost their lives. I think we can all agree COVID-19 was a very difficult time. However, out of that particular setting, the General Conference issued a reaffirmation of the statement that was made in 2015. 2015 statement had nothing to do with COVID because we didn't know COVID existed. The statement and the way the amendment to the motion has been phrased would somehow indicate, and this is a highly misinformed view, I have to tell you, it in some way insinuates that the General Conference has now put science above or equal to the Bible and the spirit of prophecy. I have to tell you that is unequivocally false. We have never done that. In fact, let me read to you the actual portion. It's a very short statement in 2015, but I'll read a portion so that you will understand. The Seventh-day Adventist Church places strong emphasis on health and well-being. The Adventist health emphasis is based on the Bible, the inspired writings of church co-founder Ellen G. White. Now, that's what it's based on. It goes on to say, and is informed by peer-reviewed scientific health literature. In no way does the Seventh-day Adventist Church put scientific information, peer-reviewed scientific information, above the Bible or the spirit of prophecy or even equal to those. Absolutely not. The case in point about how peer-reviewed scientific literature informs us. Let's use the example recently, or in the last few decades, scientific information has indicated to us that a little bit of alcohol or wine would be good for your heart. Seventh-day Adventists have unequivocally disagreed with that because it does not connect properly with the Bible or the spirit of prophecy. Just recently, scientific literature has now come out saying no alcohol is good for you. We completely agree with that because it agrees with the Holy Word and the spirit of prophecy. Now, in that statement in 2015, certainly 3 times, if not 4 times implied was that this was your choice. We advocated vaccinations. Many of us cannot travel around the world without vaccinations. Typhoid, cholera, yellow fever, whatever it might be. We simply reaffirmed in 2021 that the recommendations about vaccinations were in order. You know, unfortunately, some people have badly misled others to say that the church mandated that you had to have a vaccination. Completely false. All of these were simply recommendations. You can choose it or not. In the reaffirmation statement in 2021, 16 times in the document, it says it's your choice, essentially your choice. In fact, I will read to you what was put in all capital letters, block letters, in that reaffirmation of 2021. Unfortunately, many people who have twisted the wording, twisted the intent of the General Conference, never mentioned this. I don't know why. I'll read it to you. Capital letters, all capital letters. The decision to be immunized or not is the choice of each individual and should be taken in consultation with one's health care provider. Personal research on the subject is important. We ultimately rely on following biblical health practices and the spirit of prophecy, and following God's leading in our lives, which will bring us peace and assurance in our decision making. The General Conference, the World Church, never mandated anything. Even at the General Conference headquarters, we asked our employees, either you take the vaccination or you get tested on a weekly basis and show the results to our health officials. In terms of a statement that the General Conference makes or different organizations, I have a long list of statements that have been made over many years by General Conference Executive Committee, by the Administrative Committee, by Spring Meeting, which is the Executive Committee, or Annual Council, which is the Executive Committee, as well as the Administrative Committee. The Executive Committee, as was pointed out by one of our delegates, and thank you for that, is the organization, the entity that cares for the church between General Conference sessions. The Executive Committee is the one that authorizes the Administrative Committee to do its work. Some people have said Administrative Committee has no right to make any statements. And yet, many statements have been made on a variety of subjects, not as mandates necessarily, not as the rule, but simply as an indication of our reaction to particular statements, particular topics. So the information that has been shared by some people has been erroneous. It has not been accurate. We attempted to try to answer some of those questions back in 2021, 2022. In fact, question and answers were provided, etc., for people. Unfortunately, people like to twist and misuse anything you say. In fact, it might even happen with what I'm saying now. So we stopped trying to explain. We instead focused on the mission of the church, on evangelism, on gaining everyone towards a particular goal that would enhance our magnificent message and not engage in debate with those, and I have to tell you, in my opinion, it is a very small minority of the church. In fact, for some of you here today, what is being presented may be news to you because you haven't even thought about it. My brothers and sisters, I would urge us not to be involved in conspiracy approaches, even to the point, it's almost unbelievable, that somehow the General Conference and the World Church is receiving instructions and is under the thumb or the direction of the United Nations. That, to me, is complete fallacy. We have no instructions from the United Nations. We have no directives. We have nothing. We are not in contact with the United Nations, except we have a representative that works with other non-government organizations to help in humanitarian areas, to help in health challenges, to help in religious liberty aspects. So my brothers and sisters, I think the record needed to be shared and set straight. We sympathize with those who have concerns, and you have the right to your opinion. But it is a very small minority of people within the 23+ million church members who have continued to agitate about erroneous and misleading information. So, Brother Chair, I really hope we can move ahead to not engage ourselves with these kinds of peripheral items which have already been taken place. And I want to thank you for providing me with the time to explain